If there's one serial killer who manages to horrify more than your average serial killer, it's got to be Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, better known as the Milwaukee Cannibal. Dahmer was an American serial killer and sex offender who murdered and dismembered roughly 17 men and boys from ages 14 to 31 from 1978 to 1991. Be warned, gory descriptions of his mutilations are abundant in this video. Back in the spring of 1991, the police had no idea that a serial killer was on the loose. Though Dahmer was diagnosed with several disorders, such as borderline personality disorder, psychotic disorder, and schizotypal personality disorder, somehow he was found to be legally sane by the time of his trial. Well, Dahmer murdered around 15 boys and young men who were mostly part poor and African American, Asian, or Latino. Even though other serial killers have easily murdered more people than Dahmer, his case is by far one of the most gruesome in history, involving cannibalism and necrophilia in almost all cases. As with other serial killers, Dahmer was seen as an outcast ever since his high school years. Supposedly, he had begun drinking beer and hard alcohol at just age 14, telling other classmates that this was his medicine. Though he was mostly uncommunicative, Dahmer was seen as a polite and intelligent student, though his grades were pretty average. He was also a tennis player and enjoyed playing in the high school band, though for a brief moment only. Dahmer was homosexual, though he didn't tell his parents. He even had a brief relationship with another teenage boy, though they didn't have intercourse. He also dreamed and fantasized about dominating and controlling another submissive male partner. That's when things began taking a turn for the wicked, as his fantasies eventually turned into dissection. He even fantasized about rendering unconscious a male jogger he found attractive, and then using his body sexually, and outright attempted to kidnap him by hiding himself in the bushes with a baseball bat to do it, though the man didn't pass on in that particular day. Though he was definitely a loner and the odd one out of his high school, Dahmer was also a class clown who often staged pranks, such as simulating epileptic seizures or cerebral palsy at school and local stores. His grades had declined by 1977, and his parents hired a private tutor with limited success to help him raise them. His parents also ended up divorcing after his father found out that his mother engaged in a brief affair in September 1977, with his father moving out of the house in 1978. That same year, Dahmer graduated from high school. A few weeks before his graduation, one of Dahmer's teachers found him sitting close to the school parking lot and drinking cans of beer. The teacher threatened to report him with the principal, but Dahmer told him that he was facing a lot of stuff at home and that the school's guidance counselor was aware of this behavior. Just 3 weeks after his graduation, Dahmer murdered his first victim, picking a hitchhiker named Stephen Mark Hicks, luring him to drink alcohol, and bludgeoned him to death when he made motions to leave. He proceeded to strip the clothes from his body and, masturbating as he stood above the corpse, proceeded to dissect his body and bury the remains in a shallow grave in his backyard. 9 years would pass before he murdered his next victim, though. Dahmer attended college that fall, but ended up dropping out due to his alcoholism. His father forced him to enlist in the army, where he first served as a combat medic in Germany, though he was discharged that spring, precisely due to his alcoholism, moving back to Ohio. He frequented gay bathhouses in 1985, where he would drug men and rape them as they lay unconscious, though he only faced probation and wasn't charged for the rapes. In September of 1997, Dahmer picked up Stephen Tuomi as his next victim, dragging him back to a hotel room and waking up to his beaten dead body, though he claimed to have no memory of committing the crime. He continued this behavior of luring men from bars, who he proceeded to drug, rape, and strangle, and also began carrying out disturbing acts with their corpses, such as using them for intercourse, taking pictures of them dismemberment, and preserving their skulls and genitals for display, and sometimes even cannibalizing a few of these. By 1991, he was killing one person every week and was in love with the idea of turning his victims into zombies that he could use as youthful and submissive sexual partners, just as he fantasized in his teenage years. He drilled holes into their skulls, injected hydrochloric acid or boiling water into their brains, causing neighbors to complain about strange noises and awful smells from his apartment. By that time, he had registered as a sex offender, and one of his lobotomized victims managed to escape from his apartment and even request help. He evaded the police by convincing them that this man was his intoxicated boyfriend and even escaped the police. One of his victims, Tracy Edwards, managed to call the police before Dahmer murdered him, and the police found 7 severed heads and even a human heart in the freezer. An altar was also constructed with candles and human skulls in his closet. After being taken into custody, Dahmer confessed and began divulging the gruesome details of his crimes to the authorities, which is precisely how we were able to make this video. He was indicted on 15 murder charges, and the trial began on January 30th, 1992, pleading to insanity despite being declared sane and guilty on 15 counts of murder. He was sentenced to 15 life terms for a total of 957 years in prison. In May of the same year, he entered a guilty plea for the murder of his first victim, Stephen Hicks, and received an additional life sentence. He served his time at the Columbia Correctional Institution in Portage, expressing remorse for his actions and wishing for his own death. He read the Bible and declared himself a born-again Christian. He was finally attacked by inmates twice, one that only left him with superficial wounds, and another attempt that claimed his life due to severe head trauma. Good luck trying to sleep at night after such a terrifying story. Let us know what you think in the comments, and make sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos like today.